Within just a couple of days after the Connecticut school shooting, alternative media has blown up with reports of an eerie connection between the Connecticut shooting and the Colorado theater shooting. Alternative media claiming that the fathers of both of these shooters are actually connected in a very strange way, because both of them, the reports say, were set to testify before the Senate in the Libor scandal. Is it true? This is a subject that definitely deserves full disclosure. Let's start with what we do know. The alleged shooter in the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting was 20-year-old Adam Lanza, who police say went to Sandy Hook Elementary and killed 20 kindergarten-aged children, 6 teachers, and then himself. And all of it happened after he reportedly shot his own mother in the face at her home. Adam Lanza's father is Peter Lanza. According to ABC News, Peter Lanza is a vice president at GE Capital and had been a partner at global accounting giant Ernst & Young. Now, the hook here, again according to alternative media, is that Peter Lanza was actually scheduled to testify before the Senate in the Libor scandal. What is Libor? It's an acronym for the London Interbank Offer Rate. Libor, in short, is the most widely used interest rate in the world. Estimates of how much money is tied to Libor vary from 350 trillion, yeah, with a T, to $800 trillion. Once a day, major London banks tell Thomson Reuters the interest rate they expect to pay on a loan from another bank. Thomson Reuters drops those rates in the highest and lowest 25% and averages the 50% in the middle. And that is the Libor rate. So where's the scandal here? Well, it came to light in the middle part of this year and even some years ago that some banks were actually going through the process of manipulating those interest rates. In fact, some of those banks may have actually deflated or inflated those interest rates in order to give the impression that they were more creditworthy than they really were. It is a complicated story and a huge scandal because hundreds of trillions of dollars were affected by this Libor rate. Hundreds of trillions of dollars affected by rate manipulation by banks around the world. But again, what does this have to do with school shootings? Well, besides the claim that Peter Lanza, the father of Adam Lanza, was supposed to testify before the Senate about Libor, there are also claims that the father of the Colorado theater shooting was supposed to do the same thing. In that case, it was James Holmes who authorities say back in July went into a theater in Aurora, Colorado and opened fire, killing 12 people and injuring 58 others. Now, when the details of that shooting began to emerge, it came out that James Holmes' father is Dr. Robert Holmes, who works for Minneapolis-based Fair Isaac Corporation, FICO, which is a computer analysis and decision-making company. If you look at Dr. Holmes' bio on LinkedIn, it says in part, "My educational background is in mathematics and statistics. My experience over the last 10 years at HNC and FICO has been in developing predictive models for financial services, credit and fraud risk models, first and third-party application fraud models, and internet online banking fraud models." Alternative media jumped all over that bio, saying that Dr. Robert Holmes was actually scheduled to testify before the Senate on the issue of Libor, because they claim that he actually created algorithms that were able to detect that bank rate manipulation by banks around the world. What you need to know here, though, is that as alternative media has gotten very excited about these two men, again claiming there is a direct correlation between Dr. Robert Holmes, the father of the Colorado shooter, and Peter Lanza, the father of the Connecticut shooter, there just isn't any evidence of that. So here are the facts. In the case of Dr. Robert Holmes, fact, there is no evidence that Dr. Holmes was on any witness list to testify before the Senate about Libor. There is no evidence that I have found so far that Dr. Holmes created an algorithm that broke open the Libor scandal. However, there is evidence that Dr. Holmes has created a number of algorithms over the years and is in the business of creating those algorithms for the sake of finding bank and credit fraud. As for Peter Lanza, there is also in his case no evidence that I have found that he was on any witness list to testify about Libor. However, and here's where it gets interesting, October 18th of this year, 3 men from GE Capital, yes, the unit of GE overseen by Peter Lanza, were sentenced to prison time for a bid rigging scheme. According to CNN Money, the 3 men sentenced worked for General Electric's GE Capital unit, where prosecutors say they colluded with counterparts at other firms to rip off bond issuers. 2 men, Dominic Carrillo and Peter Grimm, received 3 years in prison, while the third, Stephen Goldberg, got 4 years. The men are the first to be sentenced as part of the government's ongoing investigation of bid rigging in auctions for the investment of municipal bond proceeds by some of Wall Street's biggest firms. So, there is no evidence that Peter Lanza was going to testify about Libor, but it does appear that Peter Lanza's GE Capital division, over which he was vice president, again according to ABC News, was involved in a bid rigging scheme that used Libor rates to manipulate the bond market. That is the story as we know it so far. Is there more? Maybe, and we'll keep looking for it.